Hi, this is Robert Plenick, the owner of Brutal Iron Gym. In today's workout, I'm doing some back exercises, and I wanted to talk about how to personalize your position to hit the exact spot of your back that you would like. So let's get into it. The first exercise we're going to look at is a cable seated row. Now, in my home gym, I have an adjustable pulley, so I can set the pulley height wherever I want. Typically, if we're going to be sitting, now I'm just using an office chair, but if I'm in a sitting position, if the cable was coming from below, that I'm pulling kind of up into this position, then I'm going to hit more of where the shoulder blades and up are of my back. Now you can think of this as the trapezius muscle. You would hit the upper, middle, and lower trapezius, as well as the rear delts. But it also depends on the upper arm position due to whatever grip you use. So if I'm using a narrow neutral grip pulling from down low, as I pull up and squeeze, I'm going to be getting a lot of that upper, middle, and rear trap, the trapezius. Whereas if I have a wide overhand grip and I'm pulling up like this, I'm going to get that same muscle, the trapezius, but I'm going to get more rear delt. So I kind of think of it as if I have my hands narrow, like close and narrow, and I'm doing it from down low, I'm going to be working on the close and narrow part of my back, meaning mostly just the trapezius. Whereas if I have my hands wide and I'm pulling up, I'm going to be working on the outside edge of my back, which is the rear delts, and kind of the muscly bumps over top of the shoulder blades. So that's one general angle to think of with a cable seated row, is if I'm pulling from down up, it's going to kind of, if you think of the line of the cable, it's going to work within that line, meaning the upper back is most targeted at that angle. Now this is also a variation of a T-bar row, so if you don't have the ability to set the cable lower than like horizontal, you can do T-bar rows. And that's going to be a position where, you know, if you're using a landmine and a barbell or an actual T-bar row machine, you're going to be standing and pulling kind of up at that angle. You're going to be mimicking that angle. So that's one variation that I'll use commonly in my workouts. The other variation is just linear, kind of horizontal with the ground, which is what most cable machines are. And the benefit of that is you're going to get kind of a general blend of the trapezius, the mid-back, and also you're going to start to introduce the lats. The closer your upper arm bone is down towards your body, the more lats you're going to get. As your upper arm gets away from the body, say up and flared, maybe a wide overhand grip, you're still going to have some lats, but you're going to use more of those rear delts, more of that musculature in the upper back. At a horizontal angle, that kind of gives you a good blend of those. Whereas if you're using that upper wide angle from a down below, you're not getting the lats as much. So the higher I would start to angle this cable, the more and more lats I would typically get. Now you can modify that based on how you lean or how you arch or where you pull to in your sternum area. But typically the higher you go, the more lats you get, the less of that mid-back, that trapezius area. So that's one general concept to think of, is lower is mostly traps, minimal lats. Straight ahead is a blend of everything. Up above is going to be mostly lats, minimal traps, and mid-back. A specific variation that I'm actually using today is my narrow angled overhand mag grip, MAG, Maximum Advantage Grip. You can look there up their website. They have really awesome grips for back exercises. Now what I like about this is one of the areas I've been trying to target is specifically my middle and lower traps. I want to take away the rear delts. I want to take away the upper traps because I get really good development of those with deadlifts and shrugs. And I want to reduce my lats. So I'm really trying to hit that middle and lower trap area. It's kind of that dead spot in the middle of the back between the shoulder blades that for me doesn't naturally develop a lot of muscle tissue. So with this, I'm choosing a little bit of an upper angle because that helps me reduce my upper traps. If I have a lower angle, my upper traps are going to get really involved. Now, typically when we do a higher angle, you would think that that would include more lats. The challenge, like the change basically that I'm doing in order to reduce lats is instead of pulling where I feel kind of like an equal involvement, instead of pulling to that spot, I'm actually gonna pull a little higher. When I pull a little higher with this narrower grip, that makes sure, the narrow grip makes sure I get rid of the rear delts, and pulling a little higher takes away my lats, and it really targets that mid-back. So since I'm not coming from the bottom up, that gets rid of the upper traps. Since I don't have a wide grip, I have a narrow grip, that gets rid of the rear delts. And by not pulling to an equal position, but actually pulling slightly higher, that takes out the lats. So I've really been able to isolate that mid and lower trap area using this specific setup. So changing where you pull to can help quite a bit to change the feeling of the movement. The other exercise I'm using in my workout today is a chest supported one arm row. Now you can do this in a lot of different setups. I have this set up for a very specific reason, which I'll share in a second. But this would be a technique and kind of concept that we can use with dumbbell one arm rows. You can do seal rows where it's chest supported rows, but maybe you have a chest supported machine or you're using a flat bench with dumbbells. But any kind of row, and this is again similar to the seated cable row, but when we're talking about more like free weight or change of position availability, is thinking of that upper arm angle. Whereas if I pull and my elbow is flared up and out, again, I'm going to be emphasizing more of that rear delt along with the trapezius muscle, kind of the upper back. Now, as I would pull with my elbow like down more, like if I'm at a 45-degree angle, I'm going to get more lats involved. So maybe still some rear delts, but a little more lats. But if I'm pulling truly right at my side, that's going to be pretty much all lats, no rear delts. Now, the other position change I have is I can actually change the angle of my body. So the setup I have here, and you'll see in the videos when I'm doing the movement, is I have chest support. I'm going to hold on to this column for support, but I can actually let myself kind of roll into the motion if I wanted. And then if I'm pulling down low, this is incredibly isolative to my lat, because if I'm rolling my body towards the cable, then my trap can't contract as much. Whereas if I am pulling away, so now I'm rolling away, and say I'm pulling at this angle, right here I can get an enormous amount of trapezius involvement. So not only do we have the ability to change our upper arm angle, we can also change our kind of tilt towards the machine. So, or towards the force, the cable. So if I stay equally portioned and pull, then even if I do a lower position like this, where my arm is beside my body, I'm gonna get a lot of lats, but my trap has a chance to help. Whereas, as I said, if I roll towards it and now I pull, oh my gosh, there's no traps. So that is much more lat isolative. And then the same is true if I'm in that upper arm position. So if I roll towards it and I'm upper arm, there's really more rear delt. There's gonna be less traps that can help. Whereas if I roll away and I pull high, now I can get more trap involvement. So what you'll commonly see when people are doing positions for any type of row is you'll see that upper arm angle as a change. As we learned with the cable seated rows, you can also change where you pull to. If you pull a little lower, you're gonna get more lats. If you pull in the middle, you get middle of everything, blend of everything. If you pull a little higher, you're gonna get a little more upper back. But then also, when we're doing chest supported rows, one arm rows, any kind of variation where it allows our body to turn or tilt, if I turn into it, I'm gonna be more isolated towards the outside of the body, which is gonna be the lats or the rear delts, depending on where my arm is. If I'm turning away from it, I'm gonna get a lot more of the middle back muscles, the muscles along the spine. They're gonna be able to help out. So knowing these nuances is super fun, because then you can really start to personalize and target the specific areas of your back that you want to develop. I mentioned that I would explain why I like this setup specifically. The main reason is it reduces lower back stress. So I've done, regular dumbbell one arm rows, T-bar rows, bent over barbell rows, you name it. One of the aspects that I like about a chest supported row is that it reduces the spinal erector and the lower back responsibility of those variations. I have been training for strength in the past, for heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, and my midsection, my obliques, my rectus abdominis, my spinal erectors all responded to help, to grow, basically to help hold the position for those heavy lifts. However, right now, I'm wanting to kind of create more of like a V shape, more like an X, where my shoulders are wide, my waist is narrower, then my thighs are wider. So I actually want to bring down the thickness of my spinal erectors, my obliques, and my rectus abdominis. One of the ways of doing that is reducing the exercise selections that require me to be in a bent over kind of supported position. Now I don't want to lose lower back strength for general functionality, so I still do those kind of movements, like say a stiff leg deadlift for hamstring development, but I pre-exhaust it by doing machine hamstring curls before I would do the stiff leg deadlifts. So that way I can still stimulate the supporting muscles of the core, but I'm doing it under a sub-maximal weight load. So that way I get a little bit of the strength that I need for my core section to be healthy, but I reduce the weight load in that kind of bent over supportive position. So that's one of the reasons why I like a chest supported movement. Then this specific variation I like because I get to stand more upright. So when I'm in position, I'm nearly upright and pulling like this, rather than a lot of chest supported machines have more of a flat angle. And then you have your whole body weight kind of pushing into the pad, plus the weight of whatever you're trying to row. Now, that's a personal preference of whether that matters to you. For me, I don't like that feeling. It's too much pressure given my body size and the weight that I'm trying to move. So what ends up happening with my stomach is I tend to push my stomach out in order to help support that position and brace against whatever the pad is pushing into my rib cage. So if I'm pushing my stomach out while I'm doing those movements, that again kind of defeats the purpose of me trying to create a narrower midsection, trying to pull those muscles inward. So I like this more upright position because I can use the support of this to reduce some of the weight that I have to try to balance. It makes the movement more strict because now my torso has to kind of stay in this position, but I don't have all the weight of my body shoving into it where I have to extend my stomach to try to maintain kind of counter that pressure. So that's the reason for this setup. However, this is highly personal, so you don't have to have this setup at all. You can do any one arm row that you feel comfortable with and that you like the position of. So I hope learning some of these positions, some of these nuances, gives you some excitement. It gives you the ability to now be able to even further personalize your back training specific to your individual needs. And this is something I absolutely love because, over 20 years of training, you just doing a row as a row as a row, eventually the muscles that grow well for you will grow, but the muscles that don't. So knowing these little nuancy positional changes really helps you bring forth those muscles that kind of hide or they seem to be lagging in their growth. This is a great way for you to isolate and find positions that target those best, and or if somebody's struggling with injuries. If they have some injuries they're trying to work around, adjusting your position can really help you still be able to stay active, but avoid that injury or lessen the involvement of that injured muscle. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, if you need anything, you can also reach out to us on our website. It's www.brutalirongym.com. On the website, we have our daily podcast. We have over 1,900 episodes. We cover nutrition, training, mindset, listener Q&A, so you can always request a topic if you'd like. We have free nutrition information, free training information, all the services that we offer as well. So please check out the website if you have not yet. Thank you for watching. I hope you really enjoy this. I hope you're able to use this information And I hope you come back for some more videos. Thank you.